the real bummer about getting more successful, more wealthy, more famous, bigger, more impressive to the world is that you don't know who to trust. I was working with one of my favorite big leader, creative in the world clients on a one-on-one retreat last week or so. And we talked a lot about what it's like to go from having really not so much to having millions of dollars, to having tens of millions of dollars, to having hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's a dream that a lot of us have, right? Those of us who don't have hundreds of millions of dollars and more, well, we would love to have hundreds of millions of dollars. But there's an energetic that happens that people aren't talking about the personal experience of growth in the world, material growth. And some of it we kind of intuit, like, oh, right, if you have hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, then suddenly maybe you don't have the same level of privacy anymore. And now where you go to eat and who you're dating and all that kind of personal information becomes public interest information, which is kind of a pain, honestly. If you are that person, you don't have your privacy anymore. That's a thing that we kind of know about. But there's a couple of things that we're not talking about that I witness and when I work with people. So I want to just make those known. And one of them is, as people grow bigger, as people grow more successful, but also it's often more complex, more involved in the business world, when they have more properties that they own, when they have more things that they own, more people know about them, more people are counting on them, and therefore more people are projecting into their energetic field. What does that mean? Well, you can just imagine if you've ever been on stage where hundreds of people are looking at you, you feel it in your energy. Wow, you feel all this energy that people are projecting into you because you're the one on stage and they're all focused on you, they're watching you. When you get more successful in business, or perhaps gain a little bit of celebrity in your field or in your creative work, guess what? People are looking at you all the time. When you run a company with hundreds of employees, those employees are looking at you. They're curious about you. They're projecting their energy, and that energy lands in your field. I describe it like, you've got this sort of bubble around you all the time, and if someone were to creep up behind you, even if you didn't see them, you would probably feel it when they entered your bubble, when they entered your personal space, even if they were silent, even if they weren't you couldn't feel their warmth or anything. It's like energetically you feel it. Similarly, if you walk into a room where there's just been a big argument, you walk into an empty room where there's just been an argument, you can kind of feel the vibe, right? We use the word vibe to talk about energy fields, but we all intrinsically feel it. If you walk into a room and your spouse is really mad at you, even before they've maybe gesticulated at you or used their voice, you can feel it. You open the door to home and you're like, oh boy. So we're all feeling these energetic fields all the time. We just aren't talking about them. And what I'm talking about today is the fact that your own personal energy field gets infused with the energy of people who are looking at you, who are staring at you, who are projecting on you, who are thinking about you, who are constantly projecting on you, imagining how you live, imagining who you really are. All of those projections land. And if you are an intuitive person, if you're a naturally empathic, sensitive person, those projections can make you feel crazy. And think about some of the celebrities that we've seen as they grow in celebrity. They kind of lose it. They lose their center. They lose their self-reference. They might try and numb themselves with drugs or alcohol because they feel way too much all the time because there's so much projection. Now, yes, there are ways to learn to steward your bubble and to contain your energy and to discern, oh wait, this one's not mine and this one can come in, but this one can get the heck out. And that's a lot of what I do with people actually. When I'm working one-on-one with a VIP client, or when I'm teaching inside the Genius Activation Circle. Every class I lead starts with the bubble breathing exercise, which shows you how to steward your bubble. So this is a learnable thing. This is a fixable thing, but we're not talking about it. So what we see is people as they grow wealthy. And you know, I have a client now whose company is about to really go off, and they're going to go from having a $10 million, sheet to having a possibly $1 billion company. We're standing on the precipice of this increase of valuation and therefore revenue and therefore position in society. And you might think, well, that's a problem I wouldn't mind having. Okay, but it does bring some considerations. One of them being like, what's that going to feel like? Energetically, how's that going to feel? The second one is, what's that going to do to my relationships? Because when I have maybe thousands, maybe millions of people, if I'm a celebrity, I might have millions of people projecting energy into my field all the time. What's it like to be in grounded, healthy relationship when I have everybody else in me too? It can be really tricky. It can be really difficult. And I know I'm thinking about a TV star client of mine who had to really undergo a big, humbling couple of years before he could have a really great relationship with his partner. Because when he went big, his ego went big, and all the fluffery and all the projection made it hard for him to discern, well, wait, which is the real me and which is the projections? And sometimes life does a thing for any of us, including celebrities, which is it humbles you real hard by causing a rift. You know, all that extra energy can cause a real rift and crisis in your relationships with people who've been with you the whole time and don't think you're a Mr. Big Shot. It can also be really hard when you are really big in the world and you have tons of money and you have people following you and you have people interested in projecting. Then it's hard to reach through that and make a connection and know that it's real. Know that that person actually trusts you for who you are and not for all this other mishigas that's flooded your field. So we're really speaking to the secrets of celebrity right now, the secrets of what the energy body does when there's growing pains. These are real growing pains. Growing in celebrity, growing in wealth, growing in status has growing pains. So what do? Well, I already mentioned learning to really steward this bubble, learning to get conscious about what's mine and what's not mine. And I think the most grounded, balanced celebrities have found a way to do that. They found a way to, through meditation, through energetic practices, maybe martial arts is a deep energetic practice, or meditation, or their spiritual practices, or their prayer life, learn to discern what's real and what's extra. And those who are sensitive and empathic really need to do more than just discern which is which, but learn to actually carve out a space for themselves where they can be clear and centered in their own without being influenced by so many people. Yes, it is ironic that influencers are overly influenced by all the people who are looking at them, tracking them, projecting into them. The influencers, the larger the influencer gets, the more, especially if they're empathic and therefore porous, the more their energy field gets flooded and filled with all kinds of nonsense that can make them feel crazy. Here's another truth about celebrity and celebrity bigness, big leaders, influential people, wealthy people. Because they have more projections coming in, because they're carrying more projections and energy of other people all the time, and because they become so big that they sort of hold an umbrella over the business they do or the brand they hold, because they become connected and interwoven with their business brand, that can make them really huge. And when that happens, they need more help, not less. There's this idea in our Western, perhaps American, particularly culture, that says the more successful you get, the less help you need. Because now you've got it all figured out. You're successful. And that is a really damaging lie. I've seen many times that people who come to me have been avoiding getting help because there's a stigma around getting help. There's a big stigma against therapy, for example, which I call blessed therapy. I love therapy. But a lot of people look at therapy like, oh, therapy is just for when something's broken. It's when something's wrong. No, therapy is one of the tools that we have to stay right in the head when you're flooded with so much other projections and stuff. What about energy work? I mean, gosh, I do a lot of energy clearing and navigation and readings for my clients who are extremely powerful and brilliant and capable people. People who have a lot in their field. People who own a lot of properties, businesses, who have family obligations that are complex. Especially if a lot of people are looking at them, projecting at them, guess what? There's more to keep clear. There's more complexity in their energy body. There's more people in their energy body to like untangle and keep clear. And yet, there's this stigma. For many successful in the world people, there's a huge stigma against energy work, woo-woo stuff, psychic information, mediumship, and yet mediumship and psychic support and clearings have been regularly used by Fortune 100 companies in this country and in other countries for a very long time to stay on top and to navigate difficult decisions and to clear out obstacles that have energetically become ensconced. I mean, it's been used by a lot of people for a long time, and yet there's still this stigma. It's being used, but secretly. In fact, most of my higher end clients, most of my clients who do have a lot of people projecting on them, I can't tell you who they are because I have a confidentiality agreement with them because they don't want to get their personal business out there, and knowing that they're working intimately with someone like me is like personal business. So to share about it here would mean sharing it with the world, and then people would actually care because of who they are. If I just said, yeah, I've been working with Joe Schmuck, nobody knows Joe Schmuck, nobody cares. But if I say I'm working with this, television star or this world-renowned person, then, suddenly it's news. Anyways, so I get to tell you some of these stories in a more anonymous way. But all of that is just kind of a bummer because the truth is that people, as they grow, need more energetic support. It can be so much to navigate all these additional energies that have come into them. It can be so much to navigate the increase in intuitive sort of reach, the strength of their gut feelings that can come through the bigger they get, because the bigger they get, the bigger their channel grows. So I'm here to say that please, if you are, especially if you're standing on a transom and recognizing, oh boy, I'm about to get bigger and I want to make sure that I do this and hold myself through it and stay in my integrity and stay grounded. Get some help. It doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means you're going forward. Bigger energy-bodied people need more help, more support. Get it from people who know how to navigate a more complex energetic system. I'm not saying that you just walk down the street into the first storefront that says psychic $50 or something. Like, you don't know, that person's specialty might not be working with big complex systems like yours. Get it from someone who you can relax with and who you can trust, and get it from someone who is going to honor your bubble themselves. Because I think one of the scariest things I've heard from my wealthy clients is to let someone in to their circle of trust puts their system, their family, their circle in danger, because they are newsworthy, and because someone who enters their circle of trust, if they did not have integrity, could use their relationship of trust to control them, to sell at their access to them in some way, to use who they are to position, and somehow just to tweak and manipulate the whole situation. And that makes it hard. It makes it hard. So I just wanted to kind of give you this overview, because I know those of us that are sort of on the way up, when we look towards those who've made it in our eyes, we might think, man, they've got it so easy. And from working with people at lots of different levels of economy, I can tell you there's just a new set of challenges that come with each level. And I can also tell you that getting more help as you get more bigger is really important. Pick mentors that you can trust, who aren't going to be overly impressed by your station and your standing and your wealth and whatever else. They're going to meet you as a human being, as you deserve that all the way along. Of course you do. Of course you do. And also for those of us who've seen leaders kind of lose their minds as they get too big, celebrities who kind of seem to go nuts as they get too big, teachers and gurus who, as they get bigger, then become abusers, become do bad things because they're so hungry, because they're so confused, because their field is suddenly flooded with all this projection and all these people telling them they're so great that they start to believe they're so great and beyond the rules and beyond the law, and then they get starved for energy and they become energy gobblers. And some of this is being revealed right now. A lot of this is being revealed right now. And you see very wealthy, very big, important men stealing the Shakti, stealing the sexual life force from children, feeding on women and children. It's because their energy field got so overly full from all those projections, and they had no idea, or they just didn't want to, take stewardship of all that extra energy, take ownership of what their part is, and stay in integrity in the center of that storm. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. A tremendous amount of unquenchable thirst. And it's unfortunately the natural kind of result of people not understanding how to grow without losing their bloody minds, without projecting in return. So I don't have all the answers to all of these questions of how do leaders grow without losing it. How do we make sure that we, as we grow wealthier and more powerful, don't become egomaniacal, narcissistic feeders on the young? Ugh. But I do know some parts of it. And a big part of it is recognizing and tracking and working with the energy body that is supercharging people and making them eventually kind of lose it, go off balance, and become these starving, unquenchable monsters. Don't become a starving and unquenchable monster. Get some support. Learn to steward your bubble. learn to navigate from your center, even when there is a lot of energy here. I'm here for you in that, and I know there's others who are here for you in that as well. So if you know what I'm talking about, reach out, because I think we need to stick together. Thanks for being here.